Hello Gothic friends, this is Alice and you are in Gothic Land, a place where we learn and we talk about all things Gothic. But not only that, we also develop our critical thinking and improve our language skills, mainly if you are working on a second language acquisition. Right, so first of all, today, thank you, welcome everybody. I want to welcome the new subscribers to the channel. The family is growing. I'm really pleased with that, and I want to also thank you all those who make comments and leave ideas and suggestions in the channel. I really appreciate that because it helps me to keep thinking about our topics. It keeps make me create content. So today what I want to do is to talk about dangerous books. Yes, last week I gave you a list of 12 books that I think that you should be reading this year, or that I recommend you read this year. And today what I want to tell you about is why some books were considered or still are considered dangerous books. And obviously the Gothic is the best place for that. So for doing that, I'm going to give you 5 examples of books or groups of books. Okay, but remember, before we go into detail, remember that if you don't know what Gothic literature is and what the Gothic is in general terms, I have a free download that you can have, and it's called Brief Introduction to Gothic Literature from its origins to our days. And as I said, it's free. It's bilingual. All my material is bilingual because it's aimed to Spanish speakers or English speakers, but also for those who are learning either English or language as a second language. So if you don't have this brief introduction to the Gothic and you don't really know what it is, but you have this feeling that you think you're gonna like it and that you like it, I recommend you download that before you do anything else, because that's gonna give you, it's a 45-minute video. It's gonna give you in 45 minutes a very good idea of what the Gothic is in all these different areas. So also, if you want to be part of a close community, you can find me on Facebook, in the group called Gothicize Me. And that is a little group that belongs to Alice in Gothic Land. So if you look for Alice in Gothic Land, you will see inside of that, you will see my Gothicize Me group. Okay, I'm giving you all this before going into details because I don't want you to miss the opportunity of chatting, of communicating to the people for free, of seeing a lot of content in my group in Gothicize Me. What we do is I ask you a question every week. At the beginning of every week, I propose a topic, I ask a question, I give you idioms, so they are bilingual, so we're working on the language. That's why I'm really interested in combining language and literature. And I also give you my favorite song of the week. We give there a little bit of the possibility of seeing the Gothic in other arts, like in music. And also sometimes I might be posting about events like the one that I did last week. If you haven't seen that video, please go and visit it. It's also here in YouTube, if you're watching YouTube. And it's the presentation I did for the project Romancing the Gothic, which is run by Sam Hurst, Dr. Sam Hurst, and you have the full session there for free now. Also, if you want to visit her site, please be very welcome, because if you are studying the Gothic and you already have some knowledge, she has a really good sessions for those with some level, well, quite a lot of level of Gothic and of English, of course. So having said all that, we're going to look today at the 5 books groups of books that are considered dangerous and why. Let's see if that helps you a little bit more with your readings this year. So the first book, and I'm going to put them in chronological order. Yes, before I forget, they are in chronological order, so you can also see if there's any link between them. But they are a little bit different between them. So the first dangerous book I want to talk about is Demonology. Demonology was written, believe it or not, in the 1591 by King James I and VI of Scotland. Have I said that right? King James I of England, now yes, and VI of Scotland. And this is a detailed research on how to detect a witch. and you have all sorts of descriptions, you have all sorts of ideas, you have it's amazing. I mean, it's a little bit difficult to read in its original form because it's from the 1500s, but you can see there how strong the messages in this book, how hard, how seriously people took it, that it took people to their death. It took women who were believed to be witches, it took them to their death. And for me, that's so wow. It is really like a big thing that certain books can have this power. Okay, so King James I, Demonology, 1591. The second group of books, not so much of a book itself, is what we used to call they call the grimoires. A grimoire, if you remember, if you are my generation, maybe you remember Charmed and the Book of Shadows, that magnificent, massive Book of Shadows. So that actually has the base on, they are also from the medieval times. So normally what we have, yes, they are, if you remember the series, they have spells, they have ancient wisdom, conjurations, natural secrets. So it's actually, the intriguing thing about grimoires is that you can find them almost in any culture. So we have, for example, I'm going to quote a professor of social history at the University of Hertfordshire, Owen Davies. He's been investigating grimoires for quite some time, and he has some kind of investigation that you can actually access. I think he has actually a book that classifies them, and he talks about these books. And he says that we can trace the origins back to the dawn, and I'm reading, the dawn of writing, and the subsequent history is entwined with that of the religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Also, the development of science, and it continues, and the cultural influence of print and the social impact of European colonialism. So wow, that is a mouthful. But if you want to read the whole article, I will leave you the links here in the video. It's from The Guardian, and as I said, the author is Owen Davies. Okay, but I will leave you all the details in the video, and later on, if you read my article related to the video with extra information that you shouldn't miss, I will give you all the links there so you can check everything out and you don't miss a thing. Okay, the third book is obviously couldn't be other than the one that opened the Gothic genre. And if you're an expert or if you know about Gothic, you are right. Yes, we're talking about The Castle of Otranto, 1764 by Horace Walpole. And yes, this is considered one of the first Gothic books in England. And why is this book dangerous? Well, this book actually, the first Gothic books were about the damsels in distress, inheritance, kingdoms, ghosts, and this belongs to a group of books called horrible romances. And why were they dangerous? Because, excuse me, they were believed, to poison young girls' minds, because we have this horrible romance, we have this horror, but we have love in stories about distress, about going against the system, about questioning, about seeing things that are not there, but they might be there. So as you can imagine, young women at the time who couldn't do anything else apart from reading books in their houses because they were not allowed to do men things, they were consuming these type of books that they were poisoning their brains. Okay, they didn't, but that's what they thought, and that was the belief for a long time. That's why the Gothic was considered really low class, like really low quality, not low class because that was read by high class, but it was considered like really low quality writing and reading. But later on, these type of books they were so popular later on in the 18th century that it reached all social classes, including the people, the working class people. So that's why we obtained the penny dreadfuls. They were born to satisfy the readings of the working class, and that's why they were very little. They came out weekly and monthly, so people could access these writings. Okay, so I don't want to stop too much in this one because you can see that I'm just getting into details there, but I don't want to. So the Castle of Otranto, first Gothic book. The fourth book I want to talk about that was considered dangerous, but it wasn't just dangerous for society, it was also became dangerous for the same writer. Yes, we are talking about The Picture of Dorian Gray, written in 1890, written by Oscar Wilde. Did I say Dorian Gray? The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1890, written by Oscar Wilde. Right, so why was this book considered dangerous? I mean, it's a beautiful book. I really love it. Even though it's a book with Gothic characteristics, is more initially talks more about aesthetics, about the society of the time, but that was a problem, because talking about the society of the time, what Oscar Wilde did was to actually bring out the dark side of Victorian London, which wasn't what people wanted to read about. So if to that we add the homophobia at the time, because we have in the story some kind of love affairs between men, well, you have a bomb. And that is a dangerous book in the sense that it was actually portraying a society, the dark side of a society that, if you know, Victorian societies always looks at the most wonderful and fantastic period of time in England, for many different reasons, showing the dark desires of the rich and what they did with the lower class. That was something that it wasn't really allowed. Okay, and as I said, talking about the soul of the character, we talk about Dorian, this beautiful person from the outside, you know, and beautiful, and in this kind of Faustinian pact that he does, and he turns and twists, and his soul is really dark. So I don't want to go into much detail about the book because you have that kind of review somewhere else. But yes, it was dangerous because of that. They saw this book as a threat to society, and that took Oscar Wilde to live in exile. Imagine the power of this book. How books can be sometimes interpreted with the wrong idea? I mean, yes, was he actually claiming something? Well, he was showing his feelings or not, and he was portraying a society. I always think that the authors put a little bit of their soul in the books, and he was trying to criticize, and it was a shout for help somehow as well. Okay, so the fifth book and the last one for today is Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses. This one was written in 1988, and you're gonna say, what the hell has this got to do with the Gothic? Well, even though again it's not a Gothic story per se, it was a book considered very dangerous for the Muslim community. Also, I mean, it was banned in India because they believed that it was a book that was promoting certain hatred for Muhammad. And you know that certain religions are really strict with their codes, and we have to be very, very careful when talking about them. So what Salman was trying to do here was just to he was inspired about the life of Muhammad, and he was just trying to create this new type of writing and new reading. It's amazing and surprising because this book actually won prizes. He was awarded. He was in the United Kingdom. He became the Booker Prize finalist in 1988, and he won the Whitbread Award for the Novel of the Year. So in one part of the world, this was considered something really refreshing, something new, but for the other part, for other religions, for ideologies, this was not the case. And that nearly nearly took Salman to be killed. He had life threats, and he had to be guarded all day long. He had to move houses. It was quite of a nightmare. In the end, finally, he had to even apologize to the Muslim community, because it got really, really dangerous, really serious. I haven't read it. I have to say that I haven't read it, and it's one of my to-do things in my to-be read list. Okay, so as you can see, this is just a few. These are just a few books that I consider dangerous. What I want you to do is to do some more research, and I want you to think if you have ever thought about dangerous books before, and which would be for you a dangerous book. As I was saying, so which would be for you a dangerous book and why? Okay, I want you to tell me what your opinion is on this. But also, if you think about the film, just to wrap up the idea of the books, if you think about the film In the Name of the Rose, that was originally is a book written by Umberto Eco, there's a phrase at the end, I don't want to give spoilers, but there is a phrase at the end of the film that for me has all the meaning. Yes, it's all the what I'm trying to say here. It concentrates all the opinion, all the idea here. So the sentence that was said at the end, right at the end, was, when Sean Connery, he questions the other monk and he confronts him and says, well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to the books, And he says, by no fear of the devil, there's no need for God. And then he goes and he eats all the pages, right? So that's what it is. That's what it is, that books can be a kind of manipulation. And if they show too much, they can be dangerous, not because they have negative information. It's because it's all the contrary. On the contrary, maybe they are going to enlighten the reader. And we don't always want societies to enlighten the readers, because they can get out of control. People can get ideas that they shouldn't have. And you cannot disagree with that. I think this is a very powerful, the power of the pen. So remember the 5th of November. No, it's not November now. So remember that one of your New Year resolutions, if one of your New Year's resolutions is to read more Gothic, but at the same time you have your pending subject, which is English, you can now learn both. Okay, this is what I do. This is my job. I am in the new project that was born recently, that finally has a name, that has been presented in society. It went to a program last week, as I said before at the beginning of this video. It's been in a program, it was in another workshop, and it was a really good experience. It was fantastic to see teachers and learners in the same place with questions, with doubts. How do we approach language and literature? How do we put that together? How can we learn from both? So for you to have more information on how to improve your reading skills, to get more vocabulary, your lexicon, to move your English, through the Gothic, you have another free PDF that I'm going to put down here in the links. You have another free PDF where I'm going to tell you, or where I actually tell you, how to work on your critical thinking and your language acquisition through the Gothic. I'm giving you there some ideas. It's not in depth because it's just a 45, no, it's not a presentation, it's just a guide, a few pages for you to start thinking, for you to start having your mindset, the right mindset to say, okay, I want to continue moving on my language, but I want to do it through another passion, which is reading and reading Gothic literature. So we're getting very, very specific, but we can do this together. If you like the experience, if you like this PDF, as I said, download it, recommend it to the people. You will become then part of the community. You will be informed, because very soon I'm going to be putting another workshop, this time in my own platform, and it's going to be a workshop for anybody who wants to attend for free, to see in more detail how we can put language, literature together. Maybe I might show you exercises. I will see. I'm working on that idea now. I'm going to be presenting you some little mini courses as well. So there's going to be a lot happening very soon. in a lot on our plates at the moment. We need to keep our language ticking and our Gothic as well. So thank you very much today. Remember, I want to know which is for you the most dangerous book out there in history. I know I have left many behind, but that's why I want you now to tell me in the comments or write to me an email to alicegothicland@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. Let me know your opinion. And you have 2 wonderful downloads plus a video to watch on second language acquisition and the Gothic. So there's a lot of homework for you to do. Catch up and let me know how you feel about this new year, mixing, combining the acquisition of your language or improving your language and the Gothic. Okay, friends, so don't forget, subscribe, like, thumbs up. You are helping me a lot by moving this information around. Also, if you want to support me, you can do that now as well in Ko-fi. You can see extra material there. And in that personal page, you can now you can support my work and you can support everything I do there. Okay, so thank you very much. I don't think I have left anything behind. I always think of extras once I finish. And as I said, I hope you have enjoyed this video that has given you plenty to do, that it has transformed you somehow. This is my intention to not just to inform you, but also to transform you, as my friend Graham Cochrane says, and my friend and mentor. So there we go. No more. That's it. I'm not saying anything else. Right. So think about everything. Leave me a comment, subscribe, like, thumbs up, everything. Do it all. Thank you very much. See you next day, Gothic friends. Take care.